Good day, everyone. Welcome back to Practical Research 2, and I'm Miss Kay. For today's lesson, I'll be teaching you how to formulate your own research hypothesis. Before we start, here are the learning objectives. At the end of this session, you are expected to understand the hypothesis in research, formulate research hypothesis, and formulate your own research hypothesis. So what is a hypothesis? Now, when we say hypothesis, it is a claim or statement about property of one or more populations. This is also known as an educated guess. Okay, this is our assumption as a researcher now regarding our study. And since we are talking about assumption, it may or may not be true. Okay, hypothesis is what we are trying to prove or disprove at the end of our study. And how do we do that? That's by simply collecting data and interpreting the data. Because our decision and conclusion will always be dependent on the data that we will gather. Talking about hypothesis, there are two different kinds or types of statistical hypothesis. We have null hypothesis, which is represented by HO, and alternative hypothesis represented by HA. When we say null hypothesis, it indicates that there is no statistical significance between the variables. So in this kind of hypothesis, we are already assuming the possibility of relationship or significance, statistical significance between the variable. For example, there's no significant relationship between English and math subjects' grades of grade 5 pupils. So in this example or hypothesis, we are already assuming that their grade in English is not related or not significant to their grade in mathematics. Now, when we say alternative hypothesis, it's just basically the opposite of null. If null indicates that there is no statistical significance, alternative hypothesis assumes that there is an existing statistical significance between the variables. Example, there is a significant relationship between English and math subjects' grades of grade 5 pupils. So those are our statistical hypotheses. But please bear in mind that only studies under inferential statistics are being applied by hypothesis. Okay, not all studies require hypotheses. Only those that are under inferential statistics. What do you mean by this? Studies under inferential statistics, they extend beyond the immediate data alone. Okay, meaning in this kind of studies, we are trying to make inferences from our data to more general implications. And what are those kind of studies? Those studies that have the following designs. First, correlational, which studies the relationship of two variables. Causal comparative, it focuses on seeking the cause and effect relationship. And lastly, the experimental, or what we call true experiment. Now, how do we write the hypothesis in the different designs? Going back to our learning earlier, we have two different types of hypothesis, the null and alternative hypothesis. And we can use either of the two or both in writing our paper. Under correlational, we can use the statement or the construction. For null hypothesis, there is no significant relationship. For alternative, we can use there is a significant relationship. How about causal comparative, ma'am? We can use the construction under null hypothesis. There is no significant difference. Under alternative, there is a significant difference. How about experimental? We can use or rely on the construction. There is no significant effect or change. For alternative, we can use there is a significant effect or change. Okay, so that's how we simply write hypothesis or construct hypothesis depending on the kind of research design that we have. That's it actually for this discussion. It's only a brief one, but I hope you learned something on how to write or formulate your own research hypothesis. If you will be having any questions or concern, you may simply type your concern in your group or in your Google Classroom, or you may leave an email at mchristine@ucc.ph. I hope you learned something today. That's all for today's discussion. Thank you guys and God bless.